Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I will show it information about Germany. Germany, officially Federal Republic of Germany, Deutschland or Bundesrepublik Deutschland, country of North-Central Europe, traversing the continent's main physical divisions, from the outer ranges of the Alps northward across the varied landscape of the central German uplands and then across the North German plain. One of Europe's largest countries, Germany encompasses a wide variety of landscapes. The tall, sheer mountains of the south, the sandy, rolling plains of the north, the forested hills of the urbanized west, and the plains of the agricultural east. At the spiritual heart of the country is the magnificent east-central city of Berlin, which rose phoenix-like from the ashes of World War II and now, after decades of partition, is the capital of a reunified Germany, and the Rhine River, which flows northward from Switzerland and is celebrated in visual art, literature, folklore, and song. Along its banks and those of its principal tributaries, among them the Neckar, Main, Moselle, and Ruhr, stand hundreds of medieval castles, churches, picturesque villages, market towns, and centers of learning and culture, including Heidelberg, the site of one of Europe's oldest universities, founded in 1386, and Mainz, historically one of Europe's most important publishing centers. All are centerpieces of Germany's thriving tourist economy, which brings millions of visitors to the country each year, drawn by its natural beauty, history, culture, and cuisine, including its renowned wines and beers. The name Germany has long described not a particular place, but the loose, fluid polity of Germanic-speaking peoples that held sway over much of Western Europe north of the Alps for millennia. Although Germany in that sense is an ancient entity, the German nation in more or less its present form came into being only in the 19th century, when Prussian Prime Minister Otto von Bismarck brought together dozens of German-speaking kingdoms, principalities, free cities, bishoprics, and duchies to form the German Empire in 1871. This so-called Second Reich quickly became Europe's leading power and acquired colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. That overseas empire was dismantled following Germany's defeat in World War I and the abdication of Emperor William II. Economic depression, widespread unemployment, and political strife that verged on civil war followed, leading to the collapse of the progressive Weimar Republic and the rise of the Nazi Party under Adolf Hitler. After gaining power in 1933, Hitler established the Third Reich and soon thereafter embarked on a ruinous crusade to conquer Europe and exterminate Jews, Roma, Gypsies, homosexuals, and others. The Constitution of the Republic, adopted in 1949 by West Germany, created a federal system that gives significant government powers to its constituent Länder, states. Before unification there were 11 West German Länder, including West Berlin, which had the special status of a land without voting rights, but, with the accession of East Germany, there are now 16 Länder in the unified republic. The largest of the states is Bavaria, Bayern, the richest is Baden-Württemberg, and the most populous is North Rhine-Westphalia, Nordrhein-Westfalen. Germany is bounded at its extreme north on the Jutland Peninsula by Denmark. East and west of the peninsula, the Baltic Sea, Ostsee, and North Sea coasts, respectively, complete the northern border. To the west, Germany borders the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. To the southwest it borders France. Germany shares its entire southern boundary with Switzerland and Austria. In the southeast, the border with the Czech Republic corresponds to an earlier boundary of 1918, renewed by treaty in 1945. The easternmost frontier adjoins Poland along the northward course of the Neisse River and subsequently the Oder to the Baltic Sea, with a westward deviation in the north to exclude the former German port city of Stettin, now Szczecin, Poland, and the Oder mouth. This border reflects the loss of Germany's eastern territories to Poland, agreed to at the Yalta Conference, February 1945, mandated at the Potsdam Conference, July-August 1945, held among the victorious World War II allies, and reaffirmed by subsequent governments. The major lineaments of Germany's physical geography are not unique. The country spans the great east-west morphological zones that are characteristic of the western part of Central Europe. In the south, Germany impinges on the outermost ranges of the Alps. From there it extends across the Alpine foreland, Alpenvorland, the plain on the northern edge of the Alps. Forming the core of the country is the large zone of the central German uplands, which is part of a wider European arc of territory stretching from the Massif Central of France in the west into the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Poland in the east. In Germany, it manifests itself as a landscape with a complex mixture of forested block mountains, intermediate plateaus with scarped edges, and lowland basins. In the northern part of the country, the North German Plain, or lowland, forms part of the Greater North European Plain, which broadens from the Low Countries eastward across Germany and Poland into Belarus, the Baltic states, and Russia, and extends northward through Schleswig-Holstein into the Jutland Peninsula of Denmark. The North German Plain is fringed by marshes, mudflats, and the islands of the North and Baltic Seas. In general, Germany has a south-to-north drop in altitude, from a maximum elevation of 9,718 feet, 2,962 meters, in the Zugspitze of the Bavarian Alps to a few small areas slightly below sea level in the north near the coast. Geographically, the central German uplands form a region of great complexity. Under the impact of the Alpine orogeny, the planed-off remnants of the former Hercynian mountains were shattered and portions thrust upward to form block mountains, with sedimentary rocks preserved between them in lowlands and plateaus. The central German uplands may be divided into three main parts: a predominantly lowland country in the south, an arc of massifs and plateaus running from the Rhenish uplands to Bohemia, and a fairly narrow northern fringe, composed of folded secondary rocks. The German-speaking peoples, which include the inhabitants of Germany as well as those of Austria, Liechtenstein, and the major parts of Switzerland and Luxembourg, small portions of France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Italy, and the remnants of German communities in Eastern Europe, are extremely heterogeneous in their ethnic origins, dialectal divisions, and political and cultural heritage, in which the split between Protestantism and Roman Catholicism has played a significant role since the Protestant Reformation and Catholic Counter-Reformation in the 16th century. The three major dialectal divisions of Germany coincide almost identically with the major topographic regions: the North German Plain, Low German, the Central German Uplands, Central German, and the Southern Jura, Danube Basin, and Alpine districts, Upper German. Of the Upper German dialects, the Alemannic branch in the southwest is subdivided into Swabian, Low Alemannic, and High Alemannic. Swabian, the most widespread and still ascending form, is spoken to the west and south of Stuttgart and as far east as Augsburg. Low Alemannic is spoken in Baden-Württemberg and Alsace, and High Alemannic is the dialect of German-speaking Switzerland. The Bavarian dialect, with its many local variations, is spoken in the areas south of the Danube River and east of the Lech River and throughout all of Austria, except in the state of Vorarlberg, which is Swabian in origin. Since medieval times, Germany has been politically fragmented, with numerous states competing with one another to develop lucrative market centers and to create capitals, large and small. As a result, the country inherited a profusion of towns and cities. Most of these remained frozen within their circuit of walls until the 19th century, with only the larger princely capitals, example, Berlin and Munich, developing distinctive government quarters in the early modern period. The Great Urban Explosion came late in the 19th century. Because industrialization was linked largely to the development of the railways, urban expansion was not confined to areas near the coalfields, such as the Ruhr region, but was distributed among many cities. Typically, the new urban workers were herded into dismal five-story apartment blocks built on a monotonous grid of straight-line streets. Today, especially in eastern Berlin and cities such as Dresden, Halle, and Leipzig, these blocks present an urgent problem of urban renewal. After World War II, Germany received more than 12 million refugees and expellees from former German territory east of the Oder and from areas with substantial German ethnic populations in Central and Eastern Europe. These numbers were swollen by the ranks of displaced persons, non-Germans unwilling to return to their former homelands. After Germany was partitioned in 1949, the demographic histories of the two parts of the country diverged, with West Germany becoming the prime target of continuing migration flows. Although immigrants, principally ethnic Germans, continued to drift in from the east, their numbers were overshadowed by a mass desertion of some 2 million people from East Germany. After the devastation of World War II, West Germany rebounded with a so-called economic miracle that began in 1948. The subsequent combination of growth and stability made West Germany's economic system one of the most respected in the world, though it began to suffer strains beginning in the 1990s, exacerbated by the costs of unification. Germany's remarkable economic performance was largely a result of effective economic management, but temporary factors were especially important in spurring economic growth in the immediate post-World War II era. In particular, a large force of unemployed workers, returned servicemen and displaced persons, were available and eager to rebuild their own lives and willing to work hard at a rate of remuneration that left a considerable investment surplus in their employers' hands. In addition, the country reaped benefits from the joint economic planning for the American, British, and French zones of occupation that culminated in the vital and essential currency reform that introduced the Deutsche Mark in June 1948 and the U.S.-financed Marshall Plan, 1948-52, which helped to rebuild war-torn Europe. The implementation of Mikhail Gorbachev's glasnost, political liberalization, and perestroika, economic restructuring, policies in the Soviet Union fueled sentiment in Germany that reunification could become a reality, and the basic steps toward German economic unity were accomplished with astonishing speed. The unexpected opening of the frontier between East and West Germany and the breaching of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989, were a heavy blow to the East German economy, as the relatively small numbers of migrants, who in previous years had left the country by way of Hungary or Czechoslovakia, rose dramatically. Exacerbating the problem was the fact that most of those who left were the younger, more active members of the population and those with marketable skills. The economic unification, achieved by July 1, 1990, swept away all customs barriers and introduced the Deutsche Mark as the sole currency in Germany. As in other sectors of the economy, the division of Germany was reflected in a dramatic divergence of agricultural development. West Germany remained essentially a country of small family farms. In the 1980s, only about 5% of holdings had more than 124 acres, 50 hectares, though they accounted for nearly one-fourth of the total agricultural area. By the beginning of the 21st century, however, large farms represented about half of the total agricultural area in Western Germany and some two-thirds in Eastern Germany. The change in Western Germany is reflective of a rationalization of agriculture, with many small landholders leaving farming and the remaining farms often increasing in size. The larger farms in the West are mainly concentrated in Schleswig-Holstein and eastern Lower Saxony, with smaller groupings in Westphalia, the lowland west of Cologne, and southern Bavaria. Small farms predominated in the central and southern parts of West Germany. The process of steady enlargement decreased the total number of holdings by more than 3/4 from 1950 to the end of the 20th century. The number of people employed in agriculture also declined substantially, from about 1/5 of the total workforce in 1950 to less than 3% by the end of the 20th century. Wage laborers virtually disappeared from all but the largest farms, and smaller farms were cultivated on a part-time basis. The birthplace of the modern printing press and of influential schools of philosophy and artistic styles, Germany has long played an important role in Western culture, and the arts have been central to Germany's idea of itself. Indeed, the historian Hagen Schulz observed that That ideal fell only when the German nation began to experiment with power and expand militarily, but it remains fondly held by contemporary German intellectuals as a model worthy of emulation in a new Europe. During the period of partition, West Germany, as heir to Germany's older regions, was custodian of the greater portion of the country's rich cultural legacy. The majority of Germany's architectural monuments, of Roman Germany and of the medieval Romanesque and Southern German Baroque styles, fell within its borders, as did many of the great libraries, archives, and facilities for the performing arts. Yet some of the greatest monuments of German cultural and historical achievement were located in East Germany, including the Wartburg of Martin Luther, the Weimar of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and the Leipzig of Johann Sebastian Bach. A large share of pre-war Germany's art treasures also rested in East Germany, especially in East Berlin and Dresden. After the division of Germany, many of the cultural assets originally from the eastern sector were removed to the west or to Russia, which generally refused to return them after unification. For example, it is estimated that some 200,000 works of art were taken from Germany after World War II, and German sources estimate that more than 4.6 million books were taken. Russian holdings include a Gutenberg Bible and thousands of works from the Berlin Museum's East Asian collection. Nonetheless, some materials, such as a stained glass window from the Marienkirche in Frankfurt, have been returned. Many of East Germany's artists, writers, and institutions, including entire publishing houses, relocated to West Germany or set up successor organizations there. The land is generally flat in the north and hilly in the northeast and central region, rising to the Bavarian Alps in the south. The Rhine River basin dominates the central and western part of the country. Other important rivers include the Elbe, Danube, and Oder. Germany has a developed free market economy largely based on services and manufacturing. It is one of the richest countries in the world. Exports include motor vehicles and iron and steel products. Germany is a federal multi-party republic with two legislative houses. The head of state is the president, and the head of government is the chancellor. Germanic tribes entered Germany c. 2nd century BCE, displacing the Celts. The Romans failed to conquer the region, which became a political entity only with the division of the Carolingian Empire in the 9th century CE. The monarchy's control was weak, and power increasingly devolved upon the nobility, organized in feudal states. The monarchy was restored under Saxon rule in the 10th century, and the Holy Roman Empire, centering on Germany and northern Italy, was revived. Continuing conflict between the Holy Roman Emperors and the Roman Catholic popes undermined the empire, and its dissolution was accelerated by Martin Luther's revolt, 1517, which divided Germany, and ultimately Europe, into Protestant and Catholic camps, culminating in the 30 Years' War, 1618–48. Germany's population and borders were greatly reduced, and its numerous feudal princes gained virtually full sovereignty. In 1862, Otto von Bismarck came to power in Prussia and in 1871 united the Germans, founding the German Empire. It was dissolved in 1918 after its defeat in World War I, and the Weimar Republic was declared. Germany was stripped of much of its territory and all of its colonies. In 1933 Adolf Hitler became chancellor and established a totalitarian state, the Third Reich, dominated by the Nazi Party. Hitler invaded Poland in 1939, plunging the world into World War II, and he was responsible for the Holocaust, the systematic killing of some 6 million Jews and millions of others. Following its defeat in 1945, Germany was divided by the Allies into 4 zones of occupation. Disagreement with the Soviet Union over their reunification led to the creation in 1949 of the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany, and the German Democratic Republic, East Germany. Berlin, the former capital, remained divided. West Germany became a prosperous parliamentary democracy, East Germany a one-party state under Soviet control. In 1952, Germany became a founding member of the European Coal and Steel Community, the forerunner of the European Union. The East German Communist government was overthrown peacefully in 1989, and Germany was reunited in 1990. After the initial euphoria over unity, the political and economic integration of the former East Germany into the Federal Republic resulted in heavy financial burdens for the wealthier former West Germans. However, the country continued to move toward deeper political and economic integration with Western Europe through its membership in the European Union. Thanks for watching.